All right, welcome in everyone. Good to see everyone trickling in. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to give a few more minutes for people to get settled in this virtual meeting, and then we will get started. Okay, it looks like it's actually tapered off at about 34 people. And so I will go ahead and move us along just to welcome you all to this space. Welcome. Thanks for joining today on an otherwise beautiful day outside to learn about how to set yourself up for success, how to prepare for the upcoming virtual career fair. There's a couple coming up that you might be going to. We're going to discuss how to prepare for the fair. Along the way, if you have any questions, we ask that you use the Q&A feature rather than the chat box so that we don't lose track of your questions. So yes, if you have questions, feel free to put them in there. And we will cover those questions either throughout the presentation or save them for the end in our Q&A section, depending on what we think is best. I'm also going to turn on live transcript here so that everyone can fully understand what I'm saying. Here we go. And this event is going to be recorded. And as long as you have registered for this event on HANDSHAKE, you will get a recording of this workshop and the slides sent to you afterwards. If you are not registered or have issues with HANDSHAKE, know that this workshop recording also lives on our YouTube channel if you're just to search UW Career and Internship Center. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started with a land acknowledgement. And the land acknowledgement is how we at the Career Center like to start all of our presentations, both in person and virtually, to acknowledge that the University of Washington resides on the land of the Coast Salish peoples and the land which touches the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. So this land has a rich history that I think is important for all of us to be aware of as we are residing, working, living on it. And if you are not familiar with the territories of this land and its origins, then I highly recommend visiting the Burke Museum on UW's campus to check out their exhibits. And again, learn more about how you can reside intentionally and respectfully. So today you have me, the voice who's talking right now, Erin Lee. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of 4 career coaches at the Career and Internship Center. And I will be doing about half of the presentation today, but I'm also joined by my colleague, Lindsay, and I'll let Lindsay introduce herself.
Thank you, Erin. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Smith. I use she, her pronouns. I am the HANDSHAKE Experience Manager, and I manage the platform of HANDSHAKE for the Career and Internship Center and UW in general. And I am going to be presenting on the other half today.
Awesome. And before we move along, I just want to again ask, oh, perfect, Lindsay, you answered that question. Ask that if you have any questions, if you could try to put them in the Q&A box rather than chat, that would be so helpful for us. But thank you, Lindsay, for answering that question. I'm going to move along to our agenda for the day. So to give you an overview of what's to come, we are going to start with an overview of what a virtual career fair is, what it looks like, general expectations. We'll then get into more of the nitty-gritty with how to register for the career fair and HANDSHAKE if you have not already. We'll then talk about preparing for a virtual career fair, how to update your HANDSHAKE profile, which is one of the things you would want to do to prepare for that fair. And then we'll talk about some more fairs and additional resources for the future if you are interested. So to start, I'm going to kick us off with the overview. If you are not aware, a virtual career fair is essentially the same as an in-person career fair with some very unique differences. But they ultimately are here to provide students the opportunity to connect with employers or employer representatives at again, different companies. And if you're going to a targeted fair like business or engineering, then it'll be companies within those industries. Sometimes we have more general fairs with lots of different industries represented. But the goal is really for us to provide students with opportunity to really meet with employers face to face. And in this case, through an online platform, HANDSHAKE, that uses both video and chat functions to interact. And so if you are having issues with HANDSHAKE, we'll definitely want to get that sorted before the fair comes up. So some differences to note and some similarities to note with in-person and virtual career fairs. So with similarities, companies attending are going to be looking to hire part-time, full-time, and or internship roles. So if you are interested in any of those or multiple of those, this is a great opportunity. You will still need to arrive with a resume, an updated resume, an elevator pitch, and business casual or business workplace attire. And we'll talk more about that later. But again, if you need help with any of these things, feel free to drop by the Career and Internship Center and we can give you some more individualized help. And then really before attending, you want to make sure you do your research on some of the companies that you would like to meet with. And so this is both looking at maybe the information they have on HANDSHAKE, but also looking at external websites that they might host or social media, so that when it comes time to meeting someone at the company, you can already have some context to set up a more successful conversation, and ultimately leave a good impression on the employer. Regarding some of the differences between in-person and virtual career fairs, one of the biggest ones is some of the prep work you need to do to make sure you can actually meet with an employer. So in person, you might be attending at the Hub Ballroom in this huge facility where lots of employers have different tables or booths set up, and you just wait in line to talk to the one that you would like to talk to. Whereas on HANDSHAKE, you have the ability to reserve sessions in advance, both one-on-one and group sessions. And that is super, super nice. No one loves standing in line, but people also love to have an expectation for how their day is going to go and have a schedule in advance, right? So this is a beautiful thing about virtual career fairs, but it's also something you need to make sure you do. Other than just registering, you need to go in and reserve, and it is on a first come, first serve basis. So if there are certain companies you're really excited about, make sure you're getting in there and trying to see if they have any availability left, and make sure it doesn't coincide with your class schedule too, of course. Aside from registration and reservation, you also most likely will be able to tell if the recruiter at a particular company is going to be hiring for the types of roles that you're looking for, meaning a given company might have, a technical recruiter for people trying to work in more technical or tech positions like engineering, but that company might also be looking to hire people in more business functions like accounting or business analyst, one of the two words. And sometimes people would run into the issue of trying to talk to one person, but getting the other person. In this case, you can kind of have that choice in advance and make sure you're really making the best use of your time. And I would say that with virtual fairs, because we offer one-on-one sessions where it's 10 minutes, really no other distractions around you, it's quite an intimate space for you and that employer representative to chat. There's a higher likelihood that this could be operating as sort of a screening interview or the first step in an interview process, which might move you along to actual formal interview if it goes well. So with these virtual interviews, really just making sure that you're prepared to put your best foot forward is going to be very important. And again, we'll return to some of those details later, but for now, I'm going to pass it off to Lindsay to talk about registration and some of the more technical components of a virtual fair.
Thank you so much, Erin. Yes, I'll be talking about how to register for a virtual career fair in Handshake. So first, what you'll do is log into Handshake at uw.joinhandshake.com. If you haven't logged in and either updated or activated your profile, I highly recommend doing so. If you want to participate in the fair, you'll have to. So log in now and check it out. But to register, on the left, you'll see this screenshot. You'll see the word events in the top left of your page. Also, you may see the event on your dashboard there. That front page of Handshake for your account uses an algorithm based on the interests that you've plugged into your profile. So you may see it there as well. So you could click on that if that appears in your profile. If you do go the route of clicking events in the top left, then you'll want to filter by career fair, and you'll see it pop up. It may not be first. You may need to sort by date or scroll a little bit, but it will be there. And then you'll click on that and we'll go to the next step. So you'll see a register button. That's where you click register. If you're looking at a career fair that is for registrations not yet open, that register button will be grayed out and it will have the date when registration opens. If registration is closed, then it will say that as well. But registration is open for this particular fair. And once you register, you'll see a prompt to sign up for employer sessions, and we'll look at how to do that. If you have incomplete areas of your Handshake profile, you may be notified and encouraged to complete those sections. And we'll get into the reasons later, but employers can use qualifications for some of their sessions. So Handshake's giving you a nudge to make sure your profile's filled out completely. Okay, so there are 3 required steps to participate. You need to update your Handshake profile to community status, and we can go into how to do that in a bit. Register in Handshake with that button that we saw before, and you're not done there. You need to sign up for group sessions and one-on-one sessions. There's no way to participate in the fair without signing up for sessions. There's no virtual lobby where you can go up to a virtual booth and talk to someone. There's no way to take part in the fair or talk to anyone from a company without signing up for sessions. So that is the last step that needs to happen to attend the fair. And actually, if you can go back real quick, Erin, thank you. Across the top, you'll see these 3 tabs. This is your schedule, available sessions, and career fair details. You'll be popping along those. That's where we'll live for most of the rest of my part for talking about registering and for information. Here you'll find career fair details and links to resources and some other elements that may be helpful. At the bottom of that page, you'll see 6 employers that are attending, and you can click the show all employers. Right now, I think we have 100, so that number has gone up, but you'll see a sampling of employers attending. And if you want to check out all of them, you can see show all employers. We'll go to the next. Thank you. The next tab across the top there is available sessions. And this is where you can sign up for those sessions I've been bringing up here. So for example, Tektronic Industries has individual sessions, 19 of those open, and individual sessions are 10-minute one-on-one video chats with an employer representative. So it's 10 minutes, you and a recruiter from a company, just the 2 of you to have a conversation. Group sessions are 30-minute information sessions. And so those you'll be with a virtual group of other students, and they'll either be the company will either be presenting about the company or offering a Q&A. And there's a description when you open the group session about what they'll be discussing. But here you'll be able to see the sessions that are open. When you scroll down the list of employers, you'll see all the employers and all the sessions they have open. We do recommend checking back often, as employers may add new sessions before the fair. So they can add sessions until the day before, even the day of. So if you log in now and see all the sessions that are available and your favorite company doesn't have any sessions, you can check back in, keep looking. And other companies will be adding sessions as well. So be sure to keep checking. And you can even sign up for sessions on the day of the fair. So chances are always there. We'll go to the next. Thank you. So let's say you've clicked on one of those group sessions, the 12:30 to 1 p.m. Right under the name, which is Team TTI group session, you'll see the description. Join us to learn all about Tektronic Industries, intern and full-time opportunities. So that's a little blurb about what they'll be discussing. Below that, you'll see the description that the company has written for themselves, along with what they're looking to hire for. So internships and jobs, full-time, part-time, U.S. work authorization is required, job titles, school years, and this fair that they're attending. So this is a little bit about the company and what they're hiring for. And then below the speakers, you can see who from the company is going to be speaking during this group session. So it's Kelsey Teague and then one other person. To attend, you click confirm, and then you're signed up for that, which is great. If you click on a one-on-one session, sorry, thank you. If you click on a one-on-one session, you'll see 10-minute slots available for each recruiter. So for Tektronic Industries, Kimberly Davis and Kelsey Teague have a number of sessions available. You'll see different times are available. You can also click show all available times to see all of the open spots for each of those representatives. So you can select, one of those times. You can also see their title, so territory manager. For some organizations, they have perhaps a recruiter from the accounting department, a recruiter from the finance department. Some organizations do that, and you can choose based on who you want to chat with. So let's say you choose a time and then you click confirm and you're signed up. All right, so to access all these registered sessions, you'll go to that tab on the far left, your schedule, and then you'll be able to see all the sessions for which you've signed up. There's the Team TTI group session, and then the one-on-one with Kimberly Davis. So you can see what you've already signed up for. And you can open each one for details. If you say, Team TTI, what were they going to talk about again? You can open that and see what they'll discuss. And if you realize you won't be able to attend, please cancel so another student can sign up. It's very important. Because if you've signed up for a lot of sessions, which is great, but realize you can't go, and another student was really hoping to talk with Kimberly from Tektronic and she has no spots left, she won't be able to talk with the other student unless you're able to cancel. We'll go to the next slide to look at that. All right. Like I mentioned, by registering, you take a spot from one of your peers. Also, no showing for an appointment on your schedule, such as a one-on-one, it may reflect poorly on you. You may lose a chance to interview with that employer for the future. The reasoning for this, if you decided not to go to a career fair in the hub, with hundreds of people, Kimberly would never know if you decided not to go that day. But if I didn't show up to my one-on-one with Kimberly, she might note down, all right, Lindsay didn't come to her session today, didn't cancel, didn't explain. Maybe, I won't consider her for the job she applied for on HANDSHAKE. So who knows, but it's not a good look to not show up. So if you do need to cancel, everyone understands, employers understand things happen, but cancel and leave a note for the one-on-one. For group sessions, one reason you want to cancel for that is they have a maximum of 50 people. So if you signed up and can't go, you are taking a spot from one of your peers. So you can cancel that session. There's not a space to write a note for that though, but please consider canceling if you realize you aren't able to attend. All right, so let's say you signed up for a few and you logged out, you waited a few days, and now you want to go back and see if there are new sessions and additional sessions. So you can log back in and click events and go to the fair and click your schedule. And then you can see, again, you'll see the 2 sessions that you signed up for. And then you can see the sections that are no sessions. And if you click on those links, it will show open sessions. So you can see all of the ones between 1 and 1:50 p.m. and 2 and 4 p.m. that are open and that you can sign up for, which is great. A new feature, new as of I think the spring, you can send a message to your one-on-one recruiter, either following up on something you found interesting, showing enthusiasm for a role, asking questions about the company, even following up after your one-on-one and sending a thank you note via Handshake through this message, thanking them for meeting with you. That's always a good look. So that is a new option that's right there, which is great. All right, if you haven't participated in a Handshake fair, Handshake launches 2 years ago. So if you've been at UW for a couple of years, it's possible you've seen this before, but this is a sneak peek of what it looks like. Okay, where do you find it? Day of. It's not in Zoom. It's not anywhere else. It is actually in Handshake. So you'll navigate to it just as you've done before. You'll click events in the top left. There will also probably be a banner that says your career fairs today. Click here to log in. You can also do that. And then when you do click events, on the right side of that page, you'll see your schedule, and it'll say, it'll have the fair there because you've registered for it. So that's an easy way to get there. And then again, you'll see on the right screenshot here, the Your Schedule tab, and the sessions you've signed up for. That join video button is grayed out, but 5 minutes before the session starts, it will be hyperlinked, and you'll be able to click it to join the video in Handshake. So 5 minutes before, that will be clickable for you. So, and you can join sessions up to 5 minutes beforehand. All right.
Okay, I will now lead us into how to prepare for a virtual career fair. The first thing you're going to want to do is to make sure that your Handshake profile is up to date. That means things like adding a photo, adding a short description, and filling in some of the skills and experiences you have. So if you have a resume created, it shouldn't be too heavy of a lift. If you've also created a LinkedIn in the past, I find that Handshake is even easier than LinkedIn to fill out. So you definitely want to make sure that this is all set to go, because employers can and will look at your Handshake profiles as they're about to, or when they're talking to you, or maybe if they want to follow up with you. Sometimes Handshake's imported information around, graduation date, school year, major, and GPA are not completely up to date. So make sure you're editing those things if need be. And there's also going to be a section on the left side of your Handshake profile where I think you can specify your specific interests as it pertains to jobs and internships. And so whether you're looking for a job or an internship or a particular industry or location, or maybe title, right? If you fill that out, that's going to help Handshake understand who you are better. And the algorithm is not only going to give you more relevant recommendations in your feed and in the job portal, it's also going to help recruiters on the back end when they're filtering for certain types of candidates. If you meet what they're looking for, you definitely want to show up in that pool of applicants, right? So try to fill that section out as well. And then, as I mentioned before, sections like what courses you've taken that are relevant to the positions you're wanting, what skills you have, and previous work experience will need to be filled out. And then there's also a section where you can upload documents like a resume or maybe a general cover letter, things like that, in place of handing it physically over to someone at like an in-person career fair. So make sure that the one you have visible to recruiters is the most updated version. The next few things to think about are, as I mentioned before, who it is that you want to meet with, right? Because you have the ability to choose that in advance. You want to be intentional about that, right? Which of them have positions open that you might be suited for or that you might be interested in, or even if they don't have positions that are necessarily open to you right now, maybe it's a company that just does something or has a mission that you're really interested in. So make sure to look at that list of all employers that Lindsay was mentioning. And then when you pick some, make sure that you're spending time doing research on those individual companies. And again, that goes beyond just what they've put on Handshake. It means going to their websites, going to their social media, looking at recent news that's come out from their company, or things that have happened at their company. And maybe even looking up on LinkedIn the particular recruiter that you're scheduled to meet with to see what their career trajectory was like. And if there's any commonalities that maybe you can bring up in conversation in your one-on-one. And then also make sure that you're prepared to do a little bit of talking, right? You ideally don't want to be caught as deer in the headlights when you're in your one-on-one session. You want the conversation to move fluidly and naturally, and you want it to be fun for that recruiter too, right? You can imagine the recruiter talking to students back to back to back all day. How can you as a student make it so that they genuinely enjoy talking to you and actually get to know you as a person, and maybe you get to know them as a person by asking them some questions. So on your end, developing what's called your elevator pitch, which is called an elevator pitch because it's supposed to last, the length of a ride of an elevator. So maybe 30 to 60 seconds, where you can do a short overview about your background, your studies, and your career goals, things that would be of interest to that recruiter, right? So kind of like a highlight reel. And you don't need to say everything because they can ask you more questions and they can see your resume and Handshake profile, but just a nice way to lead into that discussion and set them context. And then, as I had mentioned before, thinking of some good questions that you can ask the recruiters so that you're not the only one doing all of the talking. I will also just say here, again, different companies conduct their one-on-one and their group sessions differently. So it's hard to predict exactly what they're going to say, if they're going to do a lot of talking, what questions they're going to ask you. But as long as you come in generally with things to say about yourself and things to ask them, you should be in a good position. Other things to consider is how you're dressing. So even though it is a virtual fair, dressing in clothes that make you feel your best or make you feel comfortable, while also leaving the type of impression that you want to leave, is gonna help put you in the right mindset for this event, right? And so making sure you're kind of setting the surroundings up such that you're comfortable and you're settled before you go in, and have some time to take some deep breaths. And know that we have, I think we might mention this later, but we have a closet with some career clothes for you to take for free if you're in need of some in our office. Other than dressing intentionally, it's finding a quiet spot and a neutral background. So you can't set your own background since it's not Zoom, but there is the option on Handshake to blur your background. So again, just being mindful of your surroundings, the lighting, camera angles, and most of all, your connectivity, right? Because we don't want you to glitch out and then just disconnect in the middle of your session. Other important notes, making sure that you arrive on time. As Lindsay mentioned, you can join up to 5 minutes early, which is always great, right? But once that session has started, if you arrive late, the recruiter might just think that you're not going to show, and then they might leave the room, and by the time you join, they may not even be there. So you want to make sure that you are being mindful of time, and again, if something comes up, that you're not no-showing, but you're canceling and sending a short message to them, just to be respectful, right? Maintaining eye contact is important, both in person and virtually, and practicing active listening skills. So as you are sharing about yourself and asking about the other, make sure that you're smiling and you're nodding along to show that you're actually present. You're not just there to check a box, or you're not tuning out, looking at your phone, right? Sometimes this is something that can be hard to practice after a couple years in a pandemic with Zoom University. So make sure we're being, once again, just mindful of your body language and your cues. And then, as I've said multiple times now, asking questions is the way to a recruiter's heart. So being prepared with a list of, I don't know, maybe between, 5 and 7 questions, knowing you're not going to have time probably to ask all of the questions, but you'll at least have options to choose from when you have time to ask questions. And I think, yeah, if you need help developing some of what questions to ask, there's plenty of articles online, or you can come to the Career Center and have an appointment with a coach to talk more about that. The day after the fair, not all is over just yet. You want to make sure that you've taken what you've learned from that fair and are now putting it into action. So maybe you learned about a job or an internship, or you confirmed that a job or internship you were interested in is something you want to apply to. So you can go ahead and do that either on Handshake or wherever that recruiter told you to go to apply. It might be on their website. But you can also directly message the recruiter that you've met with in one-on-one or group sessions by going to the Your Schedule tab and then looking at the list of recruiters. And you can send them a thank you message there, or you can let them know that you're going to reach out to them on LinkedIn to also connect with them there. Keeping that relationship alive is really how you're going to maximize the value of this career fair. And then, as I was mentioning before with connectivity, you really, really want to make sure, if possible, that you're using a laptop or a desktop. It's going to make the user experience so much more friendly. And then that you're using Chrome, Google Chrome, or Firefox browsers, if possible. Those tend to be the most seamless experiences. And you can test your internet browser by using that link there. There's also, I think, a built-in feature now on Handshake to be able to test on your own before going into your one-on-one or your group session. So for example, if you have pop-up blockers blocked or on and you didn't know about it, you can now figure that out before you go into a session and then disable that so that you're able to go into that video call. There's also this hyperlinked article that Handshake themselves wrote about troubleshooting their video tech. It's also on our website. And again, you'll get these slides sent to you afterwards if you're registered for this event on Handshake. And then we have more help with tech on another webpage. So again, look out for this in your email inbox. Next, I'm going to pass it back to Lindsay to talk about just how more specifics around how to update your Handshake profile.
Thank you, Erin. I appreciate it. Okay, so I've mentioned the qualifications for one-on-one sessions. Employers can set qualifications for these sessions by 5 fields in Handshake: major, school year, graduation date, GPA, and work authorization. The last 3 need to be updated by you. When we create your accounts, we include major and school year, but not the other information. So if you haven't, I recommend going in and updating those pieces. And to do so, you'll log in again to Handshake, and in that center, yes, thank you, the center screenshot, you'll click on either your photo or your initials if you haven't uploaded a photo, and then my profile is how you'll navigate there. One thing that can be frustrating is when you look at on the far left screenshot, there is a pencil icon, and it looks like you should be able to edit all of the information. The graduate, senior, pronouns, all of that. That is not all editable there. So what you need to do instead is click University of Washington, Seattle-Bothell under education, and that'll be on the right side of your profile. And that'll pull up the screenshot on the right. And here's where you update the end date, which is the same as your graduation date. And that's your expected graduation. We all understand that that can shift and change as life happens. And then your GPAs that you can put there as well. You know, if you have a minor, we don't import that. Feel free to pop a minor in there. But those are where you would update those 2 elements. And then we mentioned this at the beginning, to fully participate, your privacy settings should be set to community level. And to navigate there, you would click again on your photo or your initials, top right, and then click settings. So the difference between these 3 settings, when we create your Handshake accounts, it is automatically set to private. And that means you can apply for jobs, but you won't get contacted by employers. There's nothing wrong with that status. That is just fine. But the employer level, the next step up, means it's visible to employers and you may receive messages about potential job opportunities. So at that level, you may show up in a search. Employers can search for students who are maybe juniors, who are majoring in art history and have, noted on their Handshake profile if they're interested in museum work. Then you may get a message that says, Lindsay, per your profile, seems like you'd be a good fit. I encourage you to apply for this internship. So that's what that refers to. Community level, it means it's visible to employers, students, and alumni across all Handshake colleges. This provides the opportunity to message other UW students and alumni and those from any Handshake school. There are thousands of schools on Handshake. So that is an option too. It needs to be at community level to fully take part in this fair. And you're welcome to mark it to community level and then change it after if you like. But to be in group sessions, it needs to be community level. If you're only taking part in one-on-ones with employers, then it needs to be at least employer level. And now for the work authorization piece. We have a good question in the Q&A. So you need to either answer the first two or click prefer not to answer. Clicking prefer not to answer will not negatively impact your qualification. So you will appear as qualified. It's completely up to you. It's probably better to be upfront at the beginning, but it is your call on how you want to answer that question. If you're unsure about what your status is, we recommend visiting the International Student Services Office, as they'll be able to assist with that. And then make sure you fill out this section, but there's no penalty for clicking prefer not to answer. That is your call. All right. So now continuing to update your Handshake profile. We talked about resumes, and so that's under the document section. You would again click your photo or initials and then go to my documents. And on here, you'll see I have one marked as visible. And then I have a few other versions. You can store different versions of your resume and cover letters in here if you like, which is a handy thing about Handshake. But as Erin mentioned, make sure the visible resume is maybe the most general or the one that's most applicable to the type of maybe role or company you're looking at, but not geared toward one specific company, because it'll be visible by any employer at the fair. Okay, so a few things I wanted to mention that I had forgotten to mention before. We get these questions a lot. One-on-ones are basically whatever the employer wants to talk about. Those 10 minutes are either, they can be, maybe the employer will talk at you for 10 minutes about the company. More than likely, they'll ask you why you're interested in the company or what questions you have. They may sit there and say, you have 10 minutes, tell me about yourself and why you'd be good for our company. Or what questions you have about our company, or, have you looked at the jobs on Handshake? So really be ready for anything. Just be prepared with, again, the elevator pitch, with the research you've done on the company and the roles they may have posted on Handshake, and have a reason, for attending that one-on-one. Same with group sessions. They're really up to whatever the employer wants to do for those. Some employers have a scripted, presentation for the full 30 minutes. Some it's a Q&A, some it's ask me anything type of situation. Some it's a panel, or they, want you to virtually chat amongst yourselves. So also for that, be ready for anything. There's no set structure. Employers are given a time limit and they can run with that however they want to. Another thing is to watch your time. They're 10-minute sessions. And for the group sessions, you'll get a 1-minute warning at the top of your screen. However, you won't be kicked out of a meeting, and you don't want to be late to your next meeting. And we tell employers to be cognizant and aware of this too, but we empower you to take advantage of this fair. This is your fair. And this is your opportunity. So it's okay to say, I'm so sorry. I need to get to my next one-on-one. It's been wonderful to meet with you. The employer also might have lost track of time if they're, having a good conversation with you. So don't hesitate to do that. It's you don't want to be late to one because you don't want to interrupt another. So be aware of the time. Again, you'll get that 1-minute warning. For group sessions too, you don't necessarily have to announce that you're leaving if it's a big group, but be aware of your time. Also set your schedule mindfully. You want to make sure you have, a break here and there for restroom or coffee or water, or just to take a breath because maybe you've been talking for 2 hours straight. And be mindful of class walking time and all of that. So I know it can be really exciting to sign up for a ton of sessions, but be sure that you leave time for yourself to, mentally transition from one to the other as needed. So those are just some tips that we like to give out. And some our upcoming fairs and additional resources. So our office specifically is hosting 2 fairs this fall, the virtual autumn business career fair, and registration for that is open for students. That's happening a week from tomorrow, so Tuesday, October 11th in Handshake. It's open to all majors. I know the word business can throw some students off, understandably, but any major is welcome to join us in any school year too. For the government and nonprofit job and internship fair, it's the first fair that our office is hosting in person in 3 years. So we're very excited. And that will be on Wednesday, October 26th in Marygates Hall Commons. Student registration opens on October 6th, and that is also open to all majors. Both of these are in Handshake, and you can register for them and view the employers that are attending. I do want to say there are a couple other fairs that are open to all majors that are hosted by other centers. The Career Center at Engineering is hosting 2 fairs, the Science and Engineering fairs that are open to all majors. There's one in person and one virtually. So on Handshake, if you go to Handshake, those will appear. And again, you're welcome to attend to those no matter what your major is. So recommend going onto Handshake, checking out the fairs that are open and registering for those. Yes, great. Okay, so some resources. So again, we will be sending out this recording and the slides to all who registered for this event on Handshake. So Handshake created a guide that's really helpful for attending a fair. We also have a number of resources ourselves, a page about preparing for virtual career fairs. It's very similar to the content we've covered here. Our office offers private space for virtual interviews, and you could sign up for a space for the fair if you wanted to reserve a private room to conduct your fair sessions in. We have a link that shows where to access laptops and Wi-Fi if needed. And then we have, Aaron mentioned earlier, the Husky Career Closet. We have a clothing closet for students. That is clothing free of charge, that is, workplace attire, so you can feel your best and look nice for the virtual fair. And also Handshake itself has some great blog posts that are really helpful in preparing for a fair, and that's joinhandshake.com/blog. And of course, any questions about the fair can be sent to cicevents@uw.edu, and we'll be happy to help. And Aaron, thank you for putting those links in the chat. All right. So we are happy to take some Q&A. If anyone wants to pop some questions in the Q&A, please feel free. We are happy to answer them. If you have no questions either, that's fine too.
Oh, we just got 3 questions at once. So Lindsay, do you want to maybe take one at a time?
Yeah. So the career fairs do cater to grad students as well. Yes. the employers are hiring for all levels of students and programs. So yes, I think it's definitely worth your time to do so. Examples of questions to bring up. Do you want to touch on that, Erin?
Yeah, so during a one-on-one session, good questions would be ones that are informed by the research that you've done on the company. So as you start to do research on the company or you look at the job description of the internship or job you're interested in, I think naturally follow your curiosity. What are particular things that you'd like to know more about? Based on that. And then I think when you ask that question, it'll demonstrate that you've already come in with some information. As I mentioned before, you can also ask questions about the interviewer, maybe based on their LinkedIn. You can say, I saw you on LinkedIn and saw you came from this previous company or this previous industry, and I was curious to know a little bit more about your career pathway and why you made that switch, or maybe what's your favorite thing about working at this company. You can genuinely be curious about them as a person and see what kinds of insights they might have to share. But really, I think, again, if you're doing your research on that particular position you're interested in advance, naturally you should probably have some questions about a little bit more about like what that position would entail and some of the more logistical pieces behind it. So yeah, follow your interest. The other question here, can we search internship by job title? I'm not sure if I'm fully understanding this question. I don't know if Lindsay, you understand.
Well, I'm thinking it's searching for jobs on the jobs page of Handshake. There's a keyword box, and yes, you can search. You can pop in the job title there and that you're looking for, and filter by internship. So that's something you can do. Other filters, you can filter by job function or job role as a specific filter, so you can do that as well. So yes, there are multiple ways to filter down your job search in Handshake.
Yeah. But if that's hopefully that's what you're asking about. If not, feel free to chat again. But this next question is, would you recommend going to career fairs as a freshman? And I say absolutely. Even if you're not necessarily sure you want to apply for a job or internship just yet, you can definitely still get information, maybe from like those group sessions, if that's more comfortable for you, about what actually exists out there in the world and how these processes work, how recruiters actually talk, what even is a recruiter. You are more than welcome to come and just observe and see what questions other people have. So yeah, the earlier you can get exposure, I think the better. But yeah, I don't know, Lindsay, if you have any other thoughts.
Yes, I think it's definitely worth it. It's possible that if employers do set qualifications that you may not meet the one-on-one qualifications if they're looking to, just speak with maybe juniors or seniors. But for group sessions, no qualifications can be set. So you're welcome to attend any and all of those. And yes, I do recommend getting exposure early. I think that is really valuable. And it's similar to the last question here on the list. How should first years who don't know much about their career interests take to researching so many of these companies? Well, I would say, I wouldn't recommend maybe signing up for sessions with every company. Maybe pick a few companies that do interest you based on maybe the description of the company, and then maybe pick a few to start, and then just look them up on LinkedIn and their website too. You could also Google them and see what you can find out. Erin, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think if you're not really sure about career interests, I would also recommend, sorry, I don't know if you just said this, Pathway U, which is a cool tool that we have that assesses your interests and your values as they relate to careers. And then once you get your results from that, it might give you some industries or occupations to consider pursuing. And then it gives you a bunch of information on what those occupations or jobs actually entail. So let me go ahead and link that really quickly here to you. And it's completely free to use. I'm going to put this in the chat for you. or for anyone that's interested. And then once you get those results, feel free to make an appointment with a career coach so we can actually untangle them a little bit or sort of deconstruct and see if it fits well for you and what that might mean for next steps. But I was also in the process of responding to this next question about a STEM internship fair as well. So I think Lindsay had mentioned we do have, we're not hosting it, but the School of Engineering, I believe, or an association is hosting a virtual science and engineering fair as well as an in-person science and engineering fair. So they're having both within a couple of days of each other. And I'll link our events calendar because it has both of those fairs on it. And
I just did. We're all set.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. And so I think those are open to all majors, as Lindsay said, so I would definitely look into that as well. And then how do I develop a good elevator pitch? What parts of it should I tailor to each company and what should remain the same? Yeah, this is a great question. I think a good elevator pitch can often follow this pretty easy structure of present, past, future. So introducing yourself currently, right? What are the basic identifiers you'd like them to know about you? Year, program of interest, or what your major is currently. In the past, what are some of the things that you've done that they might be interested in, whether it's coursework, you already had some work experience, leadership experience, extracurriculars, right? And then the final part is what you're looking to gain, maybe an internship or a job, and what specifically you want to learn from that internship or job, or maybe what kind of company you'd like to work for, what kind of impact you'd like to have on the world. And I would say what gets tailored is that second and third part. So past and future, right? Dependent on how different the companies are, they might think that different things about your history and your future goals are relevant. So the future, the kind of conclusion to your elevator pitch is where you can kind of mention that company specifically and how they relate to your goals and your values specifically. But once again, if you want a little bit more individualized discussion around this, I recommend doing a drop-in or scheduled appointment with a career coach at the Career Center. Would there be any restriction for international students to have an internship? Yeah, this is a great question. So as far as I am aware, international students, if they would like to have an internship, will need to use what's called CPT, work authorization, or also OPT you could use, but CPT is the more common one. And what's required of that is actually that the internship that you are getting is related to your major. And that's a process that your major advisor, your academic advisor, would have to approve and fill out paperwork for. And so I'm actually going to link to you an informational page from International Student Services all about CPT. They actually just uploaded a YouTube video that goes more in depth into that. And if you have more specific questions around work authorization, I highly recommend making an advising appointment with ISS. I think they have drop-ins as well. So let me put this here. And then this last question, how do we know what positions they offer? For example, like software engineer. Is asking recruiter about the internship position the only way? Can we know in advance? So I'll let Lindsay chime in too, but as far as I'm aware, a lot of these employers signed up for the fair will have their openings already posted on HANDSHAKE. So you can see that information before you choose to sign up with them. But Lindsay, could you explain a little bit more about where that information would best be found?
Yeah, so we do encourage employers to all, if they're hiring for a specific position, to post them in HANDSHAKE. A lot of them do, and you'll see the job titles there when you're scrolling down that page of employers. It'll show under each one what they're hiring for. Yeah, let's go back a few more. Let's see here. Actually, go forward a couple. Go forward one. Yeah. So like if you open one of the sessions or even on the main page, it should show like job titles, like what they're hiring for, or job types and job titles. So you can see it there. You can also go to their Handshake page and look at all the jobs that are posted by them. And so that's really helpful. If nothing's on Handshake, sometimes you can go to their LinkedIn or their company website. Not all employers post everything on Handshake. So that is another way you could go. It would also show that you've done some research. If you talk to, Jenny from ABC Company, and mentioned that, you saw this posting on LinkedIn, but not on Handshake, should you apply through LinkedIn or whatnot? That's another thing you can do, but it should be on Handshake. That's what we advise employers. It's not all necessarily on Handshake, but if it is, they've noted it on their registration for the fair.
Thank you, Lindsay. And then this next question is about working full time on CPT. So again, we're not the main resource for international student work authorization questions. That's definitely going to be ISS's domain. However, on the link that I just sent in the other person's question, and I'll put it again for you, it has information that says you could use part-time CPT, which is 20 hours per week or less, or full-time CPT, which would be 20 hours, over 20 hours a week. And so, yeah, a lot of students that I'm aware of who are international students have used CPT for full-time internships, say in the summer. So yes, please do explore that page and watch that video to get a good lay of the land. But I don't see any other questions here. We'll keep this open for another minute or so to see if anything else comes in, but we have pretty close to the 2:30 mark. Thank you all for being so participatory and curious. I think that is a sign that you're going to do pretty well in the actual career fair if you come with that kind of curiosity.
And if you have any questions, feel free to email CIC events. That will be in this presentation when we email it out. So feel free to email us there and check out the resources on our website. And we hope you'll join us at a fair this fall.
Yes, yeah. Not seeing any other questions for now. So yes, I agree. Please do come through. Don't feel nervous about not having enough experience. All are welcome to come. I know that we host fairs every quarter, or at least we strive to. So keep a lookout on that calendar that we linked out earlier.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, you are free to go if you don't have any questions, and enjoy the rest of your day. And you are very welcome. Okay. Awesome. I think we are all set.